Buddy, I believe we are live. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Shit Show. How is everybody? I see you guys in the comments. Guys, I cannot stress this part enough. I am absolutely thrilled to have this guest. In my book, he's a legend. He's the OG, the one that I remember first coming across before YouTube was what it is now. Absolutely fabulous work. If you are unaware of Crrow777, I'm going to bring up some sites of his, and I'll put links to them in the descriptions after the show. Go check it out. It's well worth it. Um, Drew, say hi real quick.
What's up, everybody out there? Thanks for joining in.
Hey, and without, oh, I'm sorry. We do this before. We got to do a quick prayer real quick. Lord, guide my words today. Help us do your will now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. I have to do that at the beginning of every show. All right. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the legend himself, Crrow777.
You're puffing me up. I'm just a man, but thank you so much for having me on.
I can't stress this part enough, but I am absolutely thrilled that you are here, and I think it's going to make for some really good information on top of everything else. Um, Crow, would you like to maybe give everybody a quick rundown who may not be aware of like what you do and where they can find you?
Well, over the years, the censorship got so bad that I run everything on a private server now. All my content that's been deleted or censored off third party platforms is available at crrow777radio.com. That is CRROW777radio.com. The membership there supports actual true free speech and they get access to everything. There's a link there for the 2 hour film Shoot the Moon that covers my telescope work back in the day. Currently, I'm doing telescope work on the sun. The membership here gets exclusive access to that. When you join up, you get a free solar image that shot with my gigantic solar telescope. The comments there are open to everybody. It's kind of a breath of fresh air if you're used to online forums because people are polite. On my site, there's one rule: be polite, and it gets enforced so people don't put you down or talk poorly to one another. Other than that, I've been at it since probably the early 2000s, I guess. Oh, and we run a weekly podcast. A new episode comes out every Wednesday. Typically, there's a blog with it that talks about things that matter in the time we're in now.
These images I'm bringing up on your site are absolutely phenomenal. I don't
Yeah,
know if
we make it now so when you subscribe, you get to choose some of those, like a lot of them, if you wanted to print it up to like 50 inches, um, you can. Like that one's 42 by 42 inches. You can print it any size, but it will go up to that size. And people, like one guy in Australia just printed these on glass and put a light behind it. It's pretty cool.
it's a good idea.
Nice.
I like that. And these are your images. Like you have a, I think it's a P900 if I'm correct. Is that the type of camera?
No, this is a solar telescope.
Oh, I
When
apologize.
I bought it from Lunt, it's a 300 millimeter hydrogen alpha solar telescope. When I bought it, the guy told me only three of that size have been sold in North America, and everything
Yeah.
posted here I shot.
This is wild.
And there's membership videos that show what's going on. As a matter of fact, last season I filmed the so-called lunar wave in front of the sun. So
Yeah.
now it's been shot in front of the sun, in front of Jupiter, in front of Saturn, and Lord knows how many times in front of the moon.
So what is, if you could see what we're seeing, what is this one of? This is
That's
of the
a
sun?
Yeah, that's the surface of the sun in hydrogen alpha wavelength, and that is a sunspot.
Oh, that's super cool. And when you get these images, just for the audience's sake, you have to maybe tweak them a little bit to get them to show this, or is this like actually what you can see through
So
the?
the only this is what you see is all natural except for one thing. and that one thing is the color. I assign the color because I shoot in black and white. The reason I shoot in black and white is because that's how you gain the most detail. And so if you go to a place like AstroBin online, you can see what all the amateurs are doing, and you'll see that most people assign a yellow or an orange because your eye expects that, even though the sun looks pretty white these days. But everything there is true to how the creator made it, except for the color.
I find this stuff fascinating, I have to tell you, because where else are you going to see images like this? You know, NASA
15
doesn't do
years,
this.
no, 15, well, they shoot in a lot of wavelengths, but 15 years ago, an amateur had no prayer of producing images like this. That one in the middle up top there,
Oh,
that's
hang on, I'll go
Rose's
back.
favorite image.
This one.
Yeah, that's a sunspot. That's Rose's favorite image.
That is cool. That is really cool. Well, it makes me ask a question: is do you have a I don't know how to put this theory on what's happening from what you've seen? Because I mean, you hear people talk, and they talk in a way that they believe they know without a doubt what's happening. Like, so do you have any theory on what's happening on the sun during this, or like, is this just images you're not totally sure? I'm very curious to see if you have a theory on what you've seen.
Well, I don't accept that it's a nuclear furnace, first and foremost. Everything in our realm is electromagnetic. The sun is primary in life here. Without the sun, we don't have life, no plants, no nothing. But more than that, it also has a direct connection to our spiritual life. It's primarily where those energies come from. It's like when you take a prism and you take sunlight and break it out into all those colors, those spiritual energies are doing a similar thing in my view. They're coming to us through the sun. And right now, there's an awakening. That too is directly related, in my view, to the era or the age and the sun. And that's also a big part of probably what they're doing with chemtrails. They're spraying all those metals up there to reflect, try to reflect the energies away so that we don't get the benefit. But their power and control is coming to an end now. Too many people are waking up, and the era is shifting, and the future, however long it takes us to get there, will be a future without the controllers we've lived with all our life.
Interesting. I I love the idea that they're going to be able to lose control very soon. Um, is it because of the cycles that you know? I because my belief is that like we're kind of operating on cycles in a way where like if you're actually paying attention, you can see the things of the past that are no more that are almost rearing their heads again at some point. But like, is that why you're saying that you can see a cycle happening in a way?
Well, for the people that concentrate on a spiritual life, if you tune into those people, and I know it can be difficult because a lot of them seem new agey, hippy dippy, but if you find the serious ones that are spiritually tuned in, you'll hear very similar things, and you'll even hear firsthand observation for people that are very spiritually advanced. But yeah, we have eras and ages, and this was known in almost every culture. India has done a very good job of tracking long periods of time, and we were falling in a so-called Iron Age for a very long time. We're no longer falling. We're on the upward curve now, and a big part of the changes that we're feeling is that consciousness lift. And with the consciousness lift, our abilities also lift. Actually, our physical forms actually lift over time. We don't know much about these things because the history we've been given is a lie agreed upon, as Napoleon referred to it. But everything's going to become known in the coming era that we're entering into. And don't get me wrong, the controllers are not just going to bow out gracefully, and we know what they do. They'll create trouble, they'll take as many down as they can with them. But beyond that is an infinitely better world. We just have to get there. And if we want to get there faster, then we need more people to make up their mind and start to mentally leave the control systems and mentally plan to live in a better world. The way that I've been framing it is that the The age we've known all our life has been about service to self. The age we're going into now is about service to others, where life and compassion and love are the paramount concern. And we have not known that for the entirety of our lives.
I,
I like the
I,
sound of that. That sound.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I love that there is at very least the idea, and the reason why I asked the question because I'm with you. I kind of feel that there's a change, that there's something that's happening. I've been saying it for at least a few months off and on. That like it just feels like there's a change happening. The only thing that really kind of puts it at a downer is that whenever I speak to the average person, is it's I don't know how to put this without sounding like some kind of jerk, but they're almost so unaware that it seems like that there's no hope. And I don't know how else to put that without sounding like some kind of jerk about it. But you're
Indoctrinated. Remember how
yeah,
Red in Shawshank Redemption put it? Red in Shawshank Redemption tries to tell the other inmates that Brooks, the guy he killed himself, he said he had become so indoctrinated that he didn't know how to live outside the prison, and they wouldn't believe him. Then when Red got out and carved his initials in, he was in the same place. He was thinking, what can I do to get thrown back in? And he knew he was indoctrinated. Of course, he leaves and goes down to meet the other one, but
Andy,
the
yeah.
majority of people are indoctrinated. Even the ones that aren't so indoctrinated, it's a very weird thing right now. They want the change, but they don't want it to look any different to what they're used to.
yes,
Yeah.
Human beings
yes,
have a hard time with change, and change is coming. Problem is all these systems, these indoctrination systems and these kind of control systems, those are very low vibrational, and those have to go away because what's coming is a higher vibration, for lack of a better way to determine it. And most of those systems cannot be rehabilitated. They've been bad from their beginning. The intention that built them was not a good intention for freedom or for, a living man or a living woman.
yeah, yeah. I was just referring to this. It comes up often, but just on the last show, I was talking about the indoctrination in the school system is the beginning because I have conversations often. We had an attorney friend of mine on, and it was very similar. These are really nice and great people, but you can't doctors, lawyers. It seems like the more schooling you have, the harder it is to just talk any real sense to them.
Right?
They have to operate within that paradigm. They
They're
cannot.
invested. Yeah, they
Yeah,
spend so much money and effort that it would be beyond heartbreaking to stop and realize the amount of effort and money you've put in a lifetime to realize that it wasn't what you thought it was. But that's
exactly.
coming. That is coming. And a lot of people may not choose to shift. They may choose to stay in a low vibrational state. There's almost like a split going on. And this is
Yeah.
demonstrable, by the way. It's not just us. You can see it in the animal kingdom. When I was young in the 70s, if I would have saw a bulldog grab a skateboard and jump into a pool and use it like a skateboard use, that would be the most famous dog in the world. And now they're ubiquitous. They're all over the place. There
Yeah.
are
And
children being born now, and they used to call them indigo children in the 90s. They have abilities that their parents never would have had across a lifetime. You can see it all around, and maybe we're early in the process, but we're no longer headed to the door. We're walking through the door right now.
Yeah.
I
Can I?
mean,
I
go
want
ahead,
to.
Drew. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
it's all good. A couple of moments ago, you mentioned something about like people feels like a hopeless time, and then like I'm looking back and forth, and I see somebody in the comments. Shout out to Howard 8888. At the same time, put hope is coming. Like it was as I heard you say it, I saw that post, and I look like it's like little signs, little kind of like affirmations that like okay, there's some weight to it. So it just that was just like a weird thing I wanted to point out that like
Well,
a light bulb went off in my head.
let me address that. Hope doesn't have to be coming. You can be hope right now. I am hope right now. I'm more than hope. I've made up my mind.
Yeah,
I've announced to the universe my intentions, and my intentions are not to remain in a control system. There's a better world. This This world we live in was made in abundance, and we've lived our entire lives being told that scarcity is the rule. We're running out of water, we're running out of food. Let me tell you something. An apple tree proves that wrong. If
Yes.
I take a single seed and grow a full-grown apple tree, it over its lifetime, let's say it only lives 80 years, which it may live longer. It's going to create more apples than you can probably count. And in every one of those apples, there's going to be 5 to some species up to 13 or 14 seeds. That is abundance. I
Yes.
have people who are living on farm situations and they tell me regularly they could support 10 families on a productive acre. We
Wow.
do not live in scarcity. You want to tell me the water's going away? Well, where's it going? We live in a closed system. Where's that water going? And by the way, if you've never heard of it, look up primary water. Primary water may well be the reason that Libya got whacked. The rumor is that Gaddafi had tapped primary water, which is a very deep well, purest you can't use it up water, but very deep and very pure. And he was given a water system free to his people. That's one of the reasons. The thing we've been told is that not only did they remove him, and everyone knows what happened, they flooded it with seawater, supposedly. My point being, go look up primary water. If you would have looked it up 5 years ago, you would have found there's no such thing. Well, look it up now.
Yeah, that
Jump
ties
it.
that ties
Hold
into.
on, Drew. Hold on one second. I have to add this. First of all, Hope is my daughter's name, and she was born in a very uh, adverse situation. She's doing extremely well right now. That said, everything you just laid out is 100% true because I grow apple trees. I took a seed from an apple tree that its first year of creating apples, we started a sapling. I have 24 different types of trees. Half of them are apple and half of them are peaches. They're at the cusp right now of actually coming out where there's a full bloom involved. And I can't agree with you more about the water thing. Here's what I'll add to that. This is the important part, and I don't mean to cut you off, Drew, but I have to put this in there. There is a word that YouTube will not let you use to describe that water. I've seen it in real time that if you say it, friends of mine, Crow, I believe you were on their show, Nephilim Death Squad. They, Top Lobster and David, they did an interview with a guy in Florida that found an underground water system. That guy's now doing 25 years in prison or something crazy like that. Don't quote me on the numbers. It's somewhere between 20 25 because he tried to fight its way out of it. And when I really wish I could say the words, so I'm trying to be careful, but it's a very simple word. I'm trying to be cautious here, but it's something what
You're on YouTube, so if you
yes,
say the wrong
yes.
thing, they'll clip the stream.
They do that, and that's what. And this is so. The weirdest thing is that this is so innocuous that like you wouldn't. It shouldn't offend anybody, but I believe it lends a lot of credence to what you're saying because of how quick they will shut it down if you mention it. But it's a type of water. Let's just put it that way. And it's down deep in the ground. And they believe that they found some in Florida, and when they found it, they tried to shut it down quickly. And the guy fought it, and they put him away for a long time, which is insane. But I'll just add that, yeah, I believe you're 100% right on everything that you just said because a lot of it I've seen with my own eyes. And Drew, apologize. Go ahead, say what you wanted to say.
No, it's all good. I lost kind of my train of thought of what I was going to say, but it was in regards to the powers that be not wanting to go out without a fight is why they're poisoning the ground, they're poisoning the water, they're poisoning the air, the food, because if we have abundance, what's another way of getting around the abundance is to make everything toxic and dumb everybody down. And I kind of lost my train of thought of where I was going with that, but that's kind of what I was gonna say about like, oh, well,
It's
we found infinite clean water, drinkable, usable water. It's like, all right, how do we ruin that so we can maintain control over, the populace kind of thing.
fewer people, easier to control. I don't know if people remember the Guidestones. But remember
I
they
do.
miraculously blew up on camera, but nobody could quite figure out what was going on. Well, they told you they want 500 million people. But here's the thing: years ago, Jason and I did an episode on population. They used to say different numbers than they're saying now. It used to be years and years ago that we were approaching 400 million in this country. We're only, if I had to guess right now, we're maybe at 200 or something like that. But I did the show where we estimated that the actual world population has been falling since the 70s. There's a man named Daniel Estelin, when I was doing the research, he did the book on Tavistock. He actually pulled data from places and he said the very same thing. And that's just another way of pushing the scarcity. There's too many people, we're creating too much. It's all just fear. The one thing that you can know about this system at this point, like a good one is going to be the fake hantavirus, maybe, or the sun is another good one. Oh, it just blew up and it's coming towards us. Whenever you see fear in something announced across a nation or internationally, what you're seeing is a control mechanism, because the primary way that this world has been controlled is through fear.
Yeah, Crow. What do you think about this whole prospect of them trying to introduce aliens as like a
Well,
real?
I'll tell you what I just said. The minute they cut that, we already know. Let me ask a simple question. Does NASA tell the truth?
That's
Oh,
it.
Does your government tell the truth?
never.
Well, people are very good at forgetting that. We've established right here that we know two places that don't tell the truth. So those are going to be the two places that come to do their disclosure. And by the way, magically at the same time, the biggest producer in Hollywood is going to put out a movie called Disclosure. Does that seem like programming to anyone? But the thing I'm going to tell you is the moment they insert the fear narrative into that supposed disclosure, you should just walk away, because I've already told you the primary tool is fear. If you shed your fear, you are no longer controllable in the majority of the ways that we see implemented.
Standing. We were just talking about fear being a motivating factor on the last show. I brought it up over and over again, and like I have land, and I've spoken about this, and I even one of the taglines that you have is no, there's no lie in nature, and for people that don't spend a lot of time in nature, maybe don't have animals, maybe it doesn't ring through as true to them because they haven't actually seen it. But I have. I know exactly how true that is. Um, that said, it's always fear. It's always fear, and you can see it when you want to control an animal. What do they do to control an animal? You're being treated like an animal. The sheepdogs, like this is how they get people quickly to move, is they scare you, and they scare you into a direction. I was just talking about this on the last show. It's funny that you brought that up. Um,
I
but
think to
it's
quote you, you said fear is the greatest motivator. I think is exactly what you said.
yeah, well, it can be if they use it properly. Like they can motivate the people to do insane things that make no sense at all.
Like
Because they're
2020?
afraid. Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I was pointing to at the time. Because this hantavirus, which an interesting note on that is that in Hebrew that means bullshit. I don't know if anybody knows that, but hanta in Hebrew means bullshit.
Good, because that's
It
what it is.
Yeah, and so it's fascinating because it's like bullshit, scam. There's a couple different, but it's all that, and that's why I keep saying, like, pay attention, pay attention. Do not be afraid, and pay attention. Things are changing, but what else I can see is that at the same time that you described that things are changing, I can see them struggling for control, and I can see them trying to build the walls of the prison through these data centers. To me, that is what they're trying to do with these data centers, an ultimate security state. These are going to be the hubs that try to keep everybody in check. In my opinion, anyway, like that's what I can tell is happening. And at the same time, making everything as expensive as possible so that that's their leverage against you, so that you can't say no to the ridiculous thing that they're about to tell you you have to do through this fear. That's what I have seen over and over and over again. And if they keep wanting to go in this direction with this particular thing, the bullshit virus, it'll be another one of those. I don't know if I honestly can't imagine how many people would fall for it again, given the first time was proven out. I know there's a majority of there's some people that will for sure because they want to. They like to be afraid. They're addicted to the cortisol. But that said, I can't imagine that they could get everybody like they did before on board again, regardless of how stupid it all sounds. I'm seeing this control grid rise up around us, and the only real leverage that they have is that people want to be comfortable. They don't want to give that up. So that's going to be their leverage, is that we will make you uncomfortable. You won't be able to just go to the store and get food. You won't, and quote unquote food. I mean, let's keep one thing real. That's not really food. But that's what they're going to try to use as leverage. How much debt are you in? Can you afford to say no? Can you feed yourself? That's all the real minor leverage points that moted everybody the first time. And if they're going to go down this road again, they're going to use those leverage points again.
Yeah, and I think it's in China they have that social credit system thing going on, or at least that's what I heard. And if that was like a global thing, or that happened here, where they could just tell you, well, this is the kind of job you have, or this is the kind of social status you have. You can't buy that kind of car. You can't eat at this restaurant. You can't do this. You can't do that unless you're here. I feel like that would we can never allow something like that to happen, assuming that's something they're trying to pull off, which I feel like that's kind of like the pinnacle tip of the pyramid of what you're saying of control. Cash is, trying to get rid of cash, mark of the beast, putting, a chip in you to, scan you at a store to kind of, see where you are on the social credit system of what you can get. I mean, it's fiction, but it's really not. So it's, when the more I see that kind of stuff being talked about or pushed maybe in, another nation, those things always make my antennas stand up. Like, yeah, we gotta really keep away from that, like all the way away from it.
Well, they are testing right now for the hantavirus, and one thing the digital world gives them is a real-time window. When they put something out, what do people do? They go straight to social media, which was not created by Zuckerberg. It was created to do what it does. It's real-time data. It maps people together. It uses, I think it's the third law maybe of networking, birds of a feather flock together. It gives them the most complete map of the world, everything about you. I have never opened up a social media account in my given name, ever. Not only that, I've never used social media to communicate. And, set aside taking a picture of everything I eat and putting in every person I've ever known and letting them map the people that I couldn't find. But you see, that testing mechanism is already underway for Hanta. But you've got to realize, as an example, we are being treated in a way like animals, because when an animal is in the forest, how does it live? It's reactionary. If it hears a noise, it reacts. That's how an animal lives. Very little planning of any kind. An animal lives mostly a reactionary life. I'm hungry, I gotta find food. I'm scared, I gotta run. I'm hot, I gotta try to cool off. Well, go online right now. How many sites can you find in the first minute of people, wait for it, reacting? That's not a human trait that you want to be foundational. Human beings had God-given rights and abilities. We can assess a situation. And the way so much of this works is because we just simply react. I saw, what was that show, American Gods, that one God kept saying, anger gets things done. And he's not wrong. So a big part of this is emotional triggering. Because when you get people in a highly emoted state, they're going to make bad decisions. And not only that, when people cast spells, it is almost always tied to a highly emotional state. But when you can look around you and see, for some reason online, one of the biggest ways people make content right now is simply sit there, watch a thing, and react to it. That's a pretty telling thing. That is probably an individual that's going to fall hook, line, and sinker for the Hanta test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah. I,
could you explain to me a little bit of what you said about people casting spells? Like, because I've been trying to get a little more knowledgeable or aware about that. In your perspective, how do you see that play out? Like, give me a context of somebody.
That goes as deep as anyone would want to go, and it's pretty dark, a lot of it that we see, so I'm not really that interested in it. But just know that highly emotional states not only allow people to project on emotion, but to receive with emotion. Like, no, look at 9/11. 9/11 was so emotional. Like, we were going along and things seemed normal, and then all of a sudden in this country, everything was red, white, and blue. It was the most strange, jingoistic, if I can use that word, where yesterday we were just Americans, but now something bad happened, so we're going to paint our house red, white, and blue. The bunting, the flags, all of it comes up on the tail of those emotions. The emotional state in the world was changed so drastically that measurements about the magnetic field of this place actually changed.
Wow.
And in that, what kind of change did you see? Big change. That was the last time that the things we see done were being done in secret. I marked 9/11. It came out in the sunlight. And they act like we're so big now you can't stop us. We don't have to hide anymore. Previous to that, it was things like JFK, things like the Oklahoma bombing, where they're hiding behind whatever it is they're doing. But 9/11, it's almost like they made that with the intention of it becoming known, which I think they did, so they could roll out Revelation of Method. And Revelation of Method follows the spells and the changes and everything they do. And basically, what it does is it says, everything we did now, and you didn't do a damn thing about it, which means you're okay with it, which means we're collecting your permission. Your tacit permission is now being collected because you know what we did and you didn't do a thing about it. That's 9/11 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
consent. It's consent. They need your consent. Like I've said that, as a matter of fact, on the very last show again. I said they need your consent. Now, whether that's through
Whether or
inaction.
not that, but I gotta say, whether or not that should even be counted as consent. Because when you're watching movies your whole life that are actually telling you what the news should be putting, but they're putting it in a fictional storyline, is it legitimate to act like someone's been informed through entertainment and a fictitious story? They're doing it. They're absolutely doing it.
Yeah.
But my point is, even that is underhanded. To me, when you're going to inform someone, it's like a contract. And they form contracts on this kind of hidden consent. And a contract is basically the meeting of the minds, where both people know flat out what they're agreeing to. Well, when I watched a movie in the 70s and it showed me some terrible thing they were going to do 10 years later, was that a me? Did I know that I was being informed that that was a real thing?
Yeah.
So even the way they're doing it is underhanded.
It seems very demonic, like something like the devil would do. Like, you didn't tell me no when I offered you, like, to get someone back for something. You didn't say no, so that was you giving me your consent. Kind of like an underhanded, backdoor, sinister way of doing it.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say that these are evil people.
Yeah.
They're evil people, and I'm certain some of them are working with some kind of dark entities. And so, like,
They are.
the quote unquote rules are going to be bent in whatever fashion they deem acceptable so that they can just say that they did a thing. I mean, and yes, they are getting more and more bold. I mean, just think about the stuff that came out with the Epstein files. I mean, they put it right in your face and then said, that didn't happen. Don't worry about it. Think about the stock market. I was
But did
like,
they? But wait a minute, did they? So they did this big data dump, which shows you that there's little to no doubt, even if it's a psychological operation, which much of it probably is. They have confirmed to you that there are supposed people out there that are nothing like you and me, because we would never be conducted in such a thing. But the perpetrators are the ones who are blacked out. The victims we're not. So even that is a reverse of how it works. When you
Point.
disclose, you don't
Yep.
just say a crime was you committed, you say this is the criminal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Good point. That's a good point. Hadn't thought of that. That's a good point. Yeah, I have to think about that. That's actually a really good point. The fact that it's inverted. Wow.
And again, what's been done about it?
Nothing.
So this is another run at revelation to the method. And the thing about revelation to the method, or of the method, which was first illustrated in any meaningful way by James Shelby Downard, and he's the guy who wrote King Kill 33. My frequent guest Michael Hoffman co-authored that. The thing about that is, even if they get to revelation of the method, or just the way we were just talking about 9/11, we're out of our own mouths admitting that we know the whole thing was a put up. So is that really where the collection of permission comes from? Not actually from the revelation of method, but from us realizing what's happened here. And in my view, things like 9/11 were put together with the absolute intention that at some point in the future people are going to put it together. And when you begin to see things like the JFK skit admitted in the open, like they just did supposedly with Epstein files, then you recognize that revelation of the method is one of the final steps in things. But I maintain that they've got one foot on a banana peel, and regardless of what you choose to do or I choose to do, and hopefully we choose to do the right things, which will get us in a better place much more quickly, the energies of this place are no longer going to support these kind of low vibrational controlling tactics in the way they once did. And not only that, the fear is not working to the same level that it once did. And the haunt
That
is
is.
going to be a big tell. You know, the haunta will be a big tell. It's hard to imagine that anyone's going to be ready to go breathe their exhaust fumes all day. And it's a trippy thing because 100 years ago, people like Steiner talked about the Spanish flu and said it's all a put up. And we know that wearing masks is completely bad for you. And he said things 100 years ago, like they're developing this shot that's going to destroy the spiritual intent of a human being to the point where they won't even recognize that a spiritual path is a possibility. He said that
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because there was a lot of theories which I haven't seen them proven wrong, but if you're changing your DNA, how, and I don't mean to make this sound any particular way, but if your DNA is sort of what makes you up in your body, and then a spirit is a different thing. But if you're changing your DNA to something that was introduced by these psychopaths, and what they like to do is put claims on things that they made, right? Like you see this with Monsanto with seeds, right? Do you belong to them now? Can they make a claim to you because they can find the genetic marker that they made in
They
your
can.
body?
They can. We covered this. So basically, you can't make it, and they did that anyhow. Like they made claims on, like they used to clone bamboos. Like I witnessed this firsthand, and they gave it a new. What they did is the bamboo, all the known bamboo of a certain type had like this leaf. They called it a mosaic virus. It made spots on the leaves. So they cloned it when it was really, really young so that the new variety, which was an identical copy, didn't have the mosaic in it. They changed the name to like Morning Breeze and they patented it. Well, they got caught in the long run, but they busted people and enforced it for quite some time. You have to create the thing you're going to put a claim on. Here's the thing about the mRNA. They did make that product. They did change something with it. And if all that is accurate, they can make a claim on that change. And what's worse is I have a friend in the medical field, like 2023, was pulled into a staff meeting where they were informed every shot that came out of that place was going to be mRNA based. So now they've got people going in for Lord knows what, may not even be related to the idea of a flu vaccine or something like that, but that all of them were going to be that. But to remain down at the level where you're going to roll up your sleeve for such things, deep down, you have to kind of have the idea that apparently God forgot how to make human beings, right? Because how can it be that we've been here for however long we've been here and we've been going along, but all of a sudden now, if you don't get this, I took my dog in when I got him. They had a schedule of, I don't know, 14, it was like 70 something over a thing, but 14 shots in his first year or however long it was. It was a lot of shots. And I said, I'm not doing that to my dog. I said, what? Do you think the creator forgot how to make dogs? This is ridiculous. And they said, well, the rabies is state law. And so you have to. And I looked him in the eye and I said, who owns my dog, me or you? And they said, you do. I said, well, I'll administer my dog. You mind your P's and Q's. And they said, that's fine, but you can't come back here. And I said, that's fine. I don't want to come back here because
Wow.
you people are off the rails with this. You know, and I wanted to ask, do you take your dog in here for God knows how many shots?
Oh, there's on that subject. I'll share something with you, Crow. It's one of my. I have very few regrets in my life. Um, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I believe they brought me to who I am, which is I don't think maybe achievable without a lot of the turmoil in the past. That said, one of the biggest mistakes, quote unquote, that I feel like I made is I allowed them to vaccinate my first son, and he's autistic now.
Oh, oh,
Um, it's one of those things, bro, that as a father, you cannot put it into words about how much regret and anger goes into that.
well,
Um,
let me say something from Fortune that he told me. He cured me of a thing that's not supposed to be curable. And that's all really I'm going to say about it. But he told me during the process, when he probably thought I wasn't 100% convinced he could do it, he said everything is curable. Every
yeah,
single thing is curable except being born with retardation or certain brain injuries, things like this. Of course, those are not going to be reversed. But then he went and proved it to me. So I'm just offering that to you because maybe where there's a will, there's a way. And by the
I'll,
way, we have seen some very simple things take nonverbal people and have them become verbal. So I'm just saying,
tell you that the most fascinating shows that I have heard you do are the ones with Fortune. I absolutely love hearing every time he's on. And for me, I get, some people may or may not have this, but I have these, for lack of better words, these inklings, these feelings about, information and how valuable it is whenever it's being said. And sometimes during them interviews with Fortune that you do, it's like this guy has this golden information that so many people should have but don't want to hear. So that said, I would love to get in contact with him and hear anything he has to say along the lines of that. I think that's probably one of the most valuable voices I have heard because I think that he speaks from a place that comes from a ton of truth, if that makes any sense. Like that what he says just sounds like it's accurate, even if I don't have any context to prove it. So, yes, anything like that, I am more than open to hearing.
I wish I could do something. He's basically off grid,
Yeah, I've heard.
and
I've
he's
heard.
not a computer guy. He's not a phone guy. So he is doing an event in London where I guess he's going to go out and meet people, which I don't know. I guess if he wants to do it, he can do it. But other than that, we hear from him when we hear from him.
Here's what I was getting at, though, is that well, first of all, I know the shots did it. I know how he was before. As he took it that night, that was the change. I seen it. It was 100% 180. Since then, we've had two more children and completely unvaccinated, not one single thing, and they're perfectly healthy. Even the animals that we have, no vaccines. Like we're not going that route anymore. That's the lesson learned. So I mean, I say that to say that their control mechanisms revolve around those types of things. You have to do this or you can't do that. Because I try to stay a little bit solution based when it comes to this. And what I've said in the past is that their power comes from money. That's how they control most people through most things. It siphons all the way down from the top. Who's in control of making and distributing this money, especially in the United States? The same people that want you dead, the same people that want you to comply with everything that they say, and if you don't, they will use that leverage against you. So like being out of debt and not being able to create your own food and having to go to them for things, the answers are around us, but we've been told that the answers come from them. And, just look in nature all around you. It's something I'm learning slowly over time, but like every form of medication that they administer comes from some type of plant. And so, like, if you can learn what those are, you don't need them. If you can grow your own food, you don't need them. If you understand how to do these things, you don't need them. And it removes the leverage that they could use against you and gives you the ability to say no when they try. So, I mean, that's sort of like what I'm always trying. And Owen Benjamin is great at this. Like, I give him a lot of props for that. We're like, 100% what you said too. There's no scarcity. There's no scarcity. There's food everywhere. There's water everywhere. It's just a matter of like, it doesn't come packaged to give to you.
No, it comes metered. Controlled
Yeah,
is
oh
another
yeah.
way of saying metered. When you put a meter on a thing, you control a thing. When a meter goes on, then there's going to be registrations and licensing and bills. We will slowly begin to break free of this. Already, the way you see people online dealing with what's in the food supply, that is under a microscope, and it's getting to be more so. There are tons of people out there doing a pretty good job of taking a microscope into these places and making people aware of what's in it. That is not going to go on for a whole heck of a lot longer. In the state that I'm in, we were told they magically decided to take the damaging colors out of, I guess, candies and things. It's not much at first, but when enough people have had it, that's when change occurs. So, in other words, when you quit accepting what should be unacceptable, change follows very quickly.
100%. I would like to, since you brought up meters, I think it would be a good time to maybe touch on this particular topic because I know I have some firsthand experience, especially with the smart meters from the electric companies. And I would I would like to run some stuff by you and then, we could see what happens from there. But here's what I know that there is a lot of, how do I put this? I don't know everything about them, right? So like I don't know exactly what they're capable of or not capable of, but I do know some things that they are capable of, and I do know some things that have happened because of these. And I've heard people infer that fires are started by them, which it could be. That definitely could be a thing. Here's what I'll tell you though. We do repairs for the power company. And the reason that we do the repairs is because they send out meter techs that will get there and pull an old meter. And that meter socket is so damaged that they can't safely add a new meter to it. And there is lists of hundreds of thousands of these. And just think of the cost of what it takes to get crews and crews of electricians to go out to residential houses and commercial property and replace these for free just so that they can get that meter installed. The other flip side to that installation that I think people should know that is that if you refuse it, they will continue to try. They will even come to your house when you're not there and try to install it, whether you get to or not. Like I've seen it over and over
They
again.
did it to me 4 times after I'd
Right.
opted out.
A good idea would be to maybe the lock itself would be easily removed, but you can put like a small padlock on there, and I would advise maybe a note, like a permanent type of thing, no smart meter, so that the person, because here's the thing, the meter techs, they don't know anything. Most of them are not extremely intelligent. They just come out, pull one, and put one in, right? So, but if you make that barrier for them, they have to stop, and that would most likely stop them from trying to reinstall that meter in the future. That said, the reason I brought up the idea with the fire and everything is because when they're damaged, if they don't get repaired, which happens often, it can very easily cause a fire. I have seen sockets that they go to change that I have pictures of them. There's videos on my YouTube channel. I have no idea how they still work. But to the people inside the house, they don't know any better until the power stops. So, that's what I mean about like, so you have a property. It could be an old meter socket or new meter socket. That's the bad part, is because manufacturing is not what it once was. You could have a brand new one installed and it could be faulty. So when they go to pull it, there's various reasons for things that can catch a fire, which could, in some small point, be the reasons why we see fires at the same time that we see these meters being installed. That doesn't mean that they can't do what people think that they might be able to do also. I'm just saying this is a data point because I have seen this. I know the reason why we have to go do these is because houses have burnt down before, because they didn't have repairs. They would just pull a meter and stick a new one in, fire, and then it got to be, okay, this is going to be a problem. We can't pay for people to be dying and losing their houses because of this. So this is when you get the lawyers involved. This is their solution. They now have to pay us to go and repair these hundreds and thousands of these all over the place. And again, with the cost, how do you think they're offsetting that cost? This is part of the reason why these energy prices are going up through the roof. There is so many. There's so many, it's unbelievable. They were supposed to be out of areas, we're in Ohio right now, they're supposed to be out of that area 6 months ago, and repairs are still coming in. I'm bringing that point up because as far as fires, it's very easily conceivable that just touching that socket can lead to a fire, whether that meter had a thing to do with it or not. And I'll tell you what I know about the meters themselves is that they do emit signals, for sure. They can be turned on remotely, off remotely. They can ping them so that they know where they are. And they also know when there's something getting hot inside the socket. So like we've had emergency calls where you have to go out and go and check this particular address because the socket is getting warm because something needed repaired that wasn't repaired. And then they say that it's reading hot, which means, one of the tabs on the back is starting to get to the point of melting. All of that data is just what I know. So what else they can do, I'm not sure. But it just lends credence to the idea that that's what we know that they can do. What else can they do? I don't know. But I'll just say, as far as fires, I know for sure that fires happen from the damaged sockets when they change the meters and they don't properly repair them when they need repaired. I just thought I would put that information out there as a data point so that two things can be true at the same time, in my opinion, where, yes, maybe they are responsible for the fire in some way, or it's a unrepaired socket that also causes the fires. Both of those things can be true, and I just thought I would add that just for
They did a pretty good
context.
job at the LA fire of showing what you're talking about. They showed one place down to the ground. It had a meter placed next to it. Not. They had other things, but unfortunately, I don't even know if you can find any footage that came out of the LA fires these days. So much of it has been removed. But what happened to me is the guy just showed up at my house one day and I said, "What are you doing?" He's all, "I'm here to switch your meter." I said, "No, you're not." And he said, "Okay, sign this thing. It's the opt-out." He goes, "We're going to charge you more." I said, "Just don't put the meter in." So I said, "Okay, I'm opted out." Next day, guy's on my driveway. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Here to take the meter." I said, "No, I opted out." And he goes, "Well, you're not on the list." So he gives me a thing. I sign it. This happens again. And that guy, I say, "Get your boss on the phone right now." And I raise holy hell in my driveway on the phone with this guy. So sure enough, another guy comes a couple days after that, the fourth guy.
Wow.
Meanwhile, I finally get a call a week or so later, and they go through this whole thing, and they say, "We'll mail it out." 2-3 weeks later, I get the thing saying I've opted out and that they're going to charge me more. But I have never quit guarding my meter. They can control whether you even get power with that thing. It's beyond the pale. It really is. And if you have someone in that household that's sensitive to RF, it's not a good thing.
No, no. And it's funny, not that it's funny at all, but we would just happen to be remodeling whenever they were changing the meters in my area. I lined the whole wall on the back side of that socket with tin foil,
Yep.
probably 4 feet across, all the way up and down, while the
Faraday.
wall was open.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
just because of that.
you know, you
Yeah,
can do that. So our friend Derek Condit can get crushed shungite. So it's powdered shungite, and you
I
just
bought
take,
some.
yeah, like a cup full. You put it in your house paint, and that paint, when you put it on your walls, serves as a Faraday cage.
Wow.
So you can make a safe, you know, like you can make one room, like make your bedroom or something, just Faraday that room off. So, because you never know, these things, they can pulse things. You know, a big part of probably in 2020 what happened in New York, people were getting sick and having troubles. The problem is proving what was doing it, but there are a lot of people out there think that it was RF being pulsed with the first 5Gs. It's just hard to prove.
Yeah.
Agree 100%. There's no doubt. Like, you can't admit these signals into the atmosphere and it not have some effect. Like that, you just, it's impossible.
Read the Invisible Rainbow. You want to get an eye opener, read the Invisible Rainbow. From the time we started getting AC power lines, this has been going on, and the level of sickness has gone up. And they don't just cover that, they cover when the first radio stations came on. I grew up in San Diego. One of the earliest worldwide military radio networks was right there in San Diego. There's even a, you know, I know where the little plaque is that talks about it. So, you know, for well over 100 years now, we've been living in a radio frequency soup.
Yeah.
And
That was
the
cool. What
spraying of the skies, right?
Invisible Rainbow.
Invisible Rainbow.
That's a book you won't be able to put down. That's a book that should be issued into every high school instead of Animal Farm.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm making a
Uh,
note of that. Yeah.
but I'm gonna share something with you real quick. I got a book today. It's called Farmer's Handbook of Explosives. So
That's
I just
unusual.
yeah.
What is it that a
I
farmer needs to explode?
Well, it's groundbreaking stuff, right? Dun, 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 dun. No, it's for like when you're developing the land, there's a lot of stumps and stuff like that that need to be moved. There's a lot of creeks that need to be diverted and things of that nature. Um, I thought it was just an interesting title that jumped out at me. I am not exploding anything at all. But I thought it was an interesting title, and I thought I would read it over and see if there's anything that I could bring up and maybe share with some people about what was in the book, because it's a really old book that was redone. It was from, some of the writings are from like the 1800s.
Good.
So I thought it would be a good idea to go over it, see if there's anything I could bring up on his show. But I'm probably on a watch list now.
Hey man, if you can get books, you should get books. You should hold books. You should have a plan to pass books down. The thing about a book is it can't be edited. The other thing about a book is if you get them in the early 1900s and back, that was written before what I call the modern edit, or maybe the Rockefellerization of everything in this country, like food, medical, you know, everything that got changed. We actually had good medical systems before Rockefeller changed us all to allopathy. But
Yep.
those books are very, very valuable, and I collect books nonstop. If I find a good book, you can bet it's getting saved and it's getting handed down.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want
100%.
to get more into that myself.
I have books. There's a whole stack of them that it's just like medicinal herbs and identifying plants and different things that they can be used for. That stuff in particular really interests me, because one thing that is very lost as far as knowledge today is just being able to identify a plant, um, and like how it works in nature. And like I like to give this example often, is that like, okay, poison ivy grows, and what's the cure for poison ivy? Well, you can go to the store and you can get these things, but there's also a plant, and I always forget the name, but it's a flower that typically grows somewhere within the range of that poison ivy. And if you get the flower and you mash it up, it negates the oil from the poison ivy. How many people actually know that, right? So, like, there's the problem, and the cure doesn't grow too far away. So that's why like I'm thinking like these types of books and introducing them, reading through them, bringing some stuff up on stream to hopefully get some other people involved to learn this stuff, because it doesn't always have to come, the answer, the cures doesn't have to come in pill form or in a bottle. They're out there. They're out there. You just have to know where to look.
Paracelsus, back in the day, who was a master healer of individuals, said that there is a plant for every single malady a human being will face. And he further said things like anyone who burns, cuts, or removes cancer should be drummed out of the medical field, because that too could be cured, which people like Charlotte Gerson proved. She's no longer with us, and what she had going on has apparently been taken over by corporate concerns and bastardized. But it comes down to nutrition, it really does. It comes down to clean food and healthy food. If you have good nutrition, you probably have good health. If you're not eating a bunch of toxins or getting them into you, you're probably in good health.
Yeah.
That's that old saying, right? Like, if you eat a bunch of junk, you're going to be junk,
You are what you eat. Yep.
Or
The
what
same
you
thing
Yep.
is true for what you think. You are what you think.
Absolutely. I say that often. I swear it's a mind thing where like if you're telling yourself you're going to mess this up, you're going to mess it up. If you tell yourself you can't do it, you're not going to do it.
You've
And
already
it
lost.
works. Yeah, it works the other way. Just do it. Like as an example, we bought this land. It was rough land. There used to be houses up here many years ago, and there's remnants of it. They're from like the late 1700s, early 1800s. They've been gone for a long time. It was completely overgrown. Crow, I grew up in the city in Pittsburgh. I didn't know much about this stuff, but nobody could tell me that I wasn't going to do it. We cleared all this by hand. No real machines. I had a tractor for a short time, but like we cleared this by hand. Me and my wife, and she was pregnant when I got started. Like we cleared this. We made this, and if I had it in my head that it was impossible, it would have never got done. But I knew I was going to do it. I just kept pushing through, keep doing it, keep doing it. When you first get up here, like I said, poison ivy everywhere, ticks everywhere. Like it was a mess. It was super thick. If you can imagine, when people grow shrubs around their house, and then the houses are gone, but the shrubs stay, they seed everywhere. So like, can you imagine trying to walk through a small section of a forest that's covered with the thickness of a shrub? Like you couldn't walk in. You had to go literally hack your way through to get a path in, right? So this wasn't even something that like you might be able to picture as easy, like take down a few trees. But nobody could tell me that I wasn't going to do it. So, I mean, you got to have the mindset in order to achieve anything.
The minute you decide you think you can do something, or you outright say, I can do something, you have established into existence a possibility. The minute you say, I can't do that, you have ended a possibility.
Wow.
Absolutely, 100%. Drew, did you have any questions? I might have cut you off.
No, I'm just in awe of, the information, and, this is like things I need to hear as well. So no, I'm just soaking it in, man. I'm happy to
Told
be
you.
here.
I told you he's an absolute legend. I'm telling you, and I know he's very humble. Crow is, but I'm telling you, like this dude is an absolute legend.
Well, I mean, I'm honest. I'm just a guy.
I know. But I mean,
Humbleness is that's what makes it even better.
yeah, exactly. And that's why I wanted to. I mean, again, not that I have this massive audience, but we do have a few hundred people that are very consistently that will watch the show, and I suspect some of them being somewhat and I don't know if this is the correct terminology that you would agree with, but on that normie side, maybe probably never heard anything like this at all. You have to speak these things into existence. You have to introduce them to people that have never heard it before, or else how would they know any different? The words have to be spoken in order for, and I think that goes along with what we were talking about with spells. The words have to be spoken in order for something to start changing. If you never hear it, you're never going to be able to acknowledge it. You're never going to be able to research it. It's never going to turn that light bulb on when you hear something that relates to it. So I think it's important that Crow gets it, whatever your numbers are. They should be bigger. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, when they deleted my YouTube, when censorship came out into the light of day in 2017, they deleted my YouTube account. They put it back 3 weeks later with 25,000 less subs, but they put an algorithm to censor on Google products anyone searching for me. But that's why I have the private server. Some of those old episodes, like if you become a member, you have access all the way back to episode 1. None of them have been removed. And they have transcripts. Many people have gotten the transcripts and printed them just to make sure. But certain episodes, like the Nukes Don't Exist episode, those episodes have influenced more people than you can imagine. To this day, when I see people doing episodes on no nukes, I can sometimes detect that it started with that episode, or no dinosaurs, or any number of the older episodes. You can only hit a topic so many times, I guess. But when you
Yeah.
go back to those foundational episodes, it wouldn't surprise me to learn that 1 million people have been affected by some of those things. And all it is common sense, really, most of it. A good portion of these things. But what it does is it gives you an opportunity to consider something different. And if you take the time to consider something different, then you open yourself to maybe starting to hear the ring of truth. And once you've got yourself back to being able to hear the ring of truth, you're in a much better place, because the moment, if I hear a handful of syllables or a sentence, I have a pretty good idea of whether I'm listening to nonsense or not. And if I know I'm listening to nonsense, I don't have time for that. I'm out. I've got other things to do in my world. I don't need to waste the one thing I can't replace, which is time. And so much of this modern entertainment-based world is here to suck your time. It's so bad that when you go on YouTube now, you're not even driving. Your little feed is driving you to the next thing they want you to see, and that drives you, think about what that means. If you turned off your feed and chose and searched everything you wanted, you'd be in a much different place than when they decide what's next up for you. And again, they've turned you into a reactionary being, right? You're not thinking, you're just reacting to what's in your feed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And like they with the shorts, it's also another mind screw where, like they're intentionally, like, you go into zombie mode. You're just staring at these things for 8 to 10 seconds, and that's the attention span of most people now.
The
And
last time I clicked on a feed suggestion was never.
yeah,
And I'm
right,
guessing
right.
most people can't say that, but I'm a little weird because I was alive before this digital world we live in, and I recognize why it's here. The only reason we got all this digital stuff and computers was for control. That's the only reason it's here. It's inferior to everything. Everything digital is inferior to the real world. I used to have a book. People took a lot of time to research went into that book. They had a lot of years of education often to put what was in that book. But more than anything, it couldn't be edited. Now I have a web page which can be edited every single day, or not served at all if someone doesn't want you to see it. And that is a good example. The only reason we got a digital world is so that they could use it for controlling.
Yeah. This is like kind of on topic but off topic. The what's her name? AOC, that politician, had made a very ignorant comment about uh, Mexicans not being cowboys or something, to kind of like take a shot at Mark Rubio, and then they fact checked her that she was wrong. And then all of a sudden, Wikipedia the next day changed something to, I guess, make her not look so dumb. And like they pulled information down, and that's, I don't know the specifics, but that just lends to me, like you're saying, it could be manipulated, it could be edited, it could be changed.
Not can be, is.
Is
Wikipedia is a good example of that. If you go and, like, the Gerson entry in Wikipedia actually informed, well, last time I looked, told you that drinking carrot and lettuce juice can be dangerous. All right? Well, she's using it to cure cancer. So how is it that information, worldwide information source, can be so blatant? And if you become a member and log in and change it back, within 5 minutes, it will be reverted back to what it was. That's not information. That's information control.
Yeah.
Yes. Anecdotally, I'd like to add this just as a point when you're talking about cancer. I had a friend of mine, and he had cancer. Now, mind you, this guy, he had a pretty rough upbringing too. He was addicted to drugs for a while, went to prison, but he came home and he cleaned himself up. And this is, 8, 10, 12 years. I can't remember exactly. Somewhere in that time span where he had done nothing, nothing at all. He just was normal, average member of society. And they found some kind, I'm sorry that I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was stage 4. And he called me, um, and we were making plans for like a last hurrah. We were going to go on vacation because we really had no idea how much time he had left. And somebody told him to start smoking weed. And, mind you, he had been an addict and he was looking at it like, what could it hurt if I'm on my way out? Maybe it'll help. I think it was 6 or 7 months went by of him. It was like he was taking droppers and gummies, and then he started smoking a little bit. The doctors were dumbfounded. They said the cancer was completely gone. And I'm not telling anybody that it cures anything. I'm telling you what I know that I've seen. That they told him he had some form of a severe stage 4 cancer. He started to do these things, and the doctors said it was gone. And that has been for some time now. He's continued to use just because he thinks it's beneficial. Still no cancer. So again, like, what you put in you, I think is probably the most important factor as far as staying healthy. What you do and how you do it
Nutrition is everything. And by the way, the
yes.
Rick Simpson oil has been shown over and over again to help people out of that situation, and that isn't even the highest level of that anymore. When it first came out, people weren't familiar with it. It was new. But now I mean, if you just take it upon yourself to look for ways that don't have to do with allopathy, you very well could help yourself out of a very dire situation.
No doubt. No doubt. That's one
But these are
thing.
the things you're not allowed to talk about.
No, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for YouTube to drop the stream. I'm waiting for at some point for the stream to just like drop off. Like, no, no. But I mean, even if that was the case, I don't care. Um, we should be talking about this stuff, and it needs to be said, and whoever hears it hears it. Yeah, I mean, This is sort of a surreal moment right now, knowing that we're going to be wrapping it up soon, and somehow, some way, we got Crow to come on this shit show. It's amazing to me.
Hey man, I'm happy. If I've got time, I'm happy to go out and speak. And if you look at the places that I've been, I mean, maybe almost none of them are million audience followers. I've gone on a few shows, one out in LA that I probably wouldn't do again. But the point is, maybe I would, because those are probably the people that would benefit most from hearing an alternative thing they could consider. But this has been grassroots pretty much since the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm telling you that like when I knew something was not being said many many years ago. This probably goes back to 2013 or so, maybe even before that. But I realized that something wasn't being said, and I knew that there was these alternative thinkers, I guess is the way to put it at the time, that sort of had answers in a way that answered what I knew was wrong. I started to watch a couple different channels, and they had referred to some of your work, and then I went and looked it up, and I was like, yeah, like you and your work helped to get me on the path to kind of see some things in a different way. And I hope that at some point I can have some type of effect like that on at least one person, where it helps somebody. If I do all of this and I can help at least one person see things differently, act differently, look at things that might help them that they were unaware of, that would be all worth it. That would be all worth it. And Crow, you do that. You do that.
Well, you'll do a lot better than that. And back in those days, there were like three voices. There were three of us. There was a guy named Dave J. There was the Jungle Surfer, and there was me. And outside of that, there wasn't really much of a consistent idea of addressing the problems that we saw. And personalities are personalities, so that plays into it too. But as time went on, there's more and more voices. But the problem with places like YouTube is if they left me alone, I could easily have 1 million followers. I don't put the
Yes.
effort into YouTube. But when you see the people that do have 1 million followers, because they've been approved, they're playing by the rules that are being put forward there. So if you're interested in honestly being a part of this era shift that we're doing and going to a better place, take it upon yourself to look at things that aren't on controlled third party platforms. You know, I show up on YouTube, I show up on X, but it's only a billboard pointing at a private server. But once you hit a site like mine, you can also see all the people I've talked to. And there are a lot of them now. I mean, we're pushing, I think, 700 episodes.
Wow, that's
That's
impressive.
a lot of work.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
impressive.
Well, and you know what we didn't mention was Shoot the Moon. Uh, Go see Shoot the Moon, the movie. I watched it, and it's a great film. It really is. Like, I'm not just saying that to say it. Uh, Hold on, I'm gonna
Are
bring
you
it up
logged
real
in
quick.
right now?
Yes, I'm bringing it up right now.
Go ahead and play the intro to Shoot the Moon.
No problem. Give me 1 second.
So this is family friendly. Your whole family can watch this film. There's no
We,
bad language or
yeah, we did.
this has 10 awards in the world now. We didn't even think anyone was going to play it.
Definitely worth watching. There's no doubt about it. Just the image of the lunar wave is something that you should be able to get people to think about differently.
There's
Um,
seven lunar waves in this film. 5 of them I shot. There's a lunar
uh,
wave.
yeah. You see that, Drew?
Yeah, that ripple.
Full spectrum shot of Saturn. That's Mars. That's an orb that sat there for about 7 hours.
It all started in 2012 when I shot the first lunar wave. I filmed for 4 years straight. Nearly went broke, but it's astonishing things that I filmed. And it's even more astonishing what's happened since then.
Outstanding.
There
Wow.
it is. Membership gets free access to that film. I think the last 2 awards came from India. The last one maybe Jaipur. When Jason put it on the independent film circuit, I thought no one would give it a chance, but they did, and now it's been around the world a couple times.
Wow.
It,
Yeah.
it just shows the point. What was that, right? Like, just that image, the work that you put into it, the fact that some people will be able to see that and go, maybe things aren't what we're being told they are. Could be that one spark that lights the fire for
Well,
somebody to
I can
start.
address that.
Yeah,
So
sure.
years ago, when I first set it up, we're going to have a guest on who was one of the 3 back in the day. He was talking before we put the record button on, and he said, "Did you guys know?" So I filmed the lunar wave in the fall of 2012. I held the footage for a year, and I put it up October 2013. He told us that exactly 30 days after I posted that the flat Earth movement exploded, and we were laughing, and we went and checked, and he was right. And what happened was people saw the lunar wave and they thought, well, if I don't know everything there is to know about the moon like I thought I did, What else don't I know? And they were taking there were thousands and thousands of websites embedding my footage up to 2017 when they deleted account. Then all those links became 404 errors and it all went away. But my point is, just that one film spurred a complete movement that was then going to go out and challenge some things. Although joining groups is not the way I choose to go, because as you can see with that group, they became a target and you get infiltrated. But anyhow.
So here, one more time, Charles here says, is it available to stream online? Go to
No, you got to you got to become a member at Crrow777radio.com. I don't use third-party platforms, and it's $8 a month. And if you're only there for a month, you can do that. If you choose to become part of what's going on, then it's $8 a month, but you get free access to everything after that. You're basically helping us pay for the private infrastructure that allows us to do whatever we want and not be censored and not have... I don't even know how many videos have been pulled down from YouTube. They don't even notify me all the time when they pull content down, but it's all there.
Let's just put it this way. You know, how much do you pay for Netflix to watch a show? How many times have you gone on and, say, Amazon Prime and paid for a movie? Even if you just want to go there and see it, pay the $8 and check out the show. And if, you know, like Crow said, if you want to check out at that point, then it's only $8. But I would say stay on and help fund what he's doing. But it's a very interesting documentary. I found it fascinating, and as soon as you released it, my wife and I both watched it, and it was something that should inspire thought in people. Where I said this again on one of the other shows is, they claim they have it all figured out, and I'm telling you, I don't think they do.
Well, if you go to Crrow777 Radio and you take advantage of what's there, knowing that every episode back to one is available, and not only that, if you're a member and you email Rose and say, what are the interesting episodes from back in the day that I should catch? Many people actually go, subscribe, and then they end up going back to episode one and just moving forward. I can't even tell you how many people have gone back to episode one and listened to them all. The reason is, it can change your life for the better. Literally change your life. If you want a common sense point of view with no agenda piled on top of it, you may find something that completely switches everything up for you. Because over nearly 700 episodes, I've covered certainly all the things that stick out as needing to be covered, but half the time we've done things that end up mattering. It's because we had a certain guest on who brought something to the table.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting. I got to check that out too.
Yeah.
We've had people
should.
go out into the world and say things like, don't go into debt sending your kids to college. If you go to Crrow777 Radio and every day listen to 2 old episodes and then 1 new episode, over the same time you would have taken to get a degree, you won't be in debt and you'll know more about the world in actuality.
I believe
you might actually be able to critically think at the end of it instead of just obeying orders from whoever is the authoritative source at that moment. Because I think that's the main thing that school tends to teach. The Prussian school system.
Which was rigged.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, the kids now aren't even learning cursive. Why? Well, they don't want them reading the Bill of Rights or the Constitution, but the real reason, I think, is because AI can't read cursive. I think that's the real reason. If you're ever making something that you don't want AI to read, just use cursive fonts and switch them up. Doesn't know what to do with them.
That is something right there. I hadn't thought of that. That's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah. I had the idea definitely in mind that it was, you know, you can't read documents of the past if you can't write cursive. But the AI thing, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
For people that weren't around back in the day when this all started on YouTube, you may not be aware of what happened with like Sandy Hoax and Boston thing. You know why they don't mention them like all the other things they've done? Because they were so thoroughly ripped apart in real time on YouTube before they had full control that they can't. There are too many people that the day it happened started shredding it online. All those videos are gone now. But guess what? The episodes we did, they're there. They're on a private server outside of you can't say this. And the other thing that gets me is all the self-censorship. You've got people by the hundreds of thousands going to run a show and self-censoring by saying ridiculous things like pew pew instead of saying gun, unalived instead of saying died. You don't think the algorithm knows that pew pew means gun? That's not the point. The point is their training got you to censor your own speech. That is the point.
We just experienced it in this show, right? Like we couldn't say what type of water it was just because we just experienced that. So yeah. And one further thing is that if you do go back and check out Crrow's work, one thing you're going to see is how accurate it was. And you can go directly to the COVID time and see what he was saying, what his guests were saying, and realize that they were right about the whole thing.
A year before it happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, go support Crrow. It's worth the $8 a month. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he is an absolute legend, even though he won't admit it. So I can't praise it enough. Go help him out. Go subscribe, and let people know what you see on top of that.
You can be a part of something that is trying to make a difference. That's the thing. A lot of people get halfway through their life and they do whatever they call what have I done with my life? Have I done anything that mattered? We're all going to get there someday. You can be a part of something here.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I feel like I've already kept you too long. I really appreciate you sharing this much time with us. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
I'm all good. I hope to see folks at Crrow777radio.com. There's 2 R's in the word Crrow. And yeah, thanks you guys so much for having me on. It's good to talk to you.
Really appreciate it, Crrow. Drew, you want to let them know where they can find you before we get out of here?
Shit Show co-host on X, Luminary Mixdown on Instagram.
My name's Stax. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, and X. As time goes on, we're going to expand into more and more places and, help the show grow. We do a thing. We didn't do it today out of respect for Crrow, but we do a thing called Banger Bucks where people on Rumble will donate $1 or $2 just to say bad things to each other. And the winner at the end wins $10 that I will send to you at the end of the show. So it's also kind of fun in that way too. So, yeah, we're working on expanding. We're working on more stuff. We got more content, and we got some guests coming up. I don't know how we're going to top Crrow, but also Owen Benjamin is going to be coming on. Crrow, I know you know Owen pretty well. He's doing Bertari Festival right now, so I think after that is over, we're going to get something scheduled, and that should be another really fun one. All right. I'm going to put links in the description for Crrow's website, and I think that's it. So thanks, everybody, for watching. That was the